you and I could have been in the exact same gunfight in the exact same vehicle side by side. And what your
Yep.
body and brain captured from that moment don't have to match what my body and brain captured from that moment. And so that's like we talked about last time we were on together, you know, how do we fix it? And that's such a complicated answer because we're all different, right?
This is the Veritable Veteran Podcast, bringing truth and exposure to the struggles veterans and their families face post-military. Depression, anger, PTSD, suicide. Who am I? What do I do now?
Yeah, bad universe. That's been the new
Bad
thing.
universe.
Yeah, something I'm just like bad universe. Now it's the running joke because it's like that active choice. You know, I'm so far along that process at this point that it is most days an active choice. So like, let's not Hulk smash. Like maybe Hulk do something else. You know, and you know,
maybe
Hulk
be a
color
video
for
of Hulk
bit. Maybe Hulk color for a little bit. Maybe Hulk go for a run.
Yeah, you know, like. Yeah, and
see Hulk out there like running on the road, like I'm working something out. Leave me alone.
You know, but even that, like running, I got out and I ran all the time, constantly, until my body started hurting. And realistically, I had a kid, and I was a stay-at-home parent, and it got really hard to run with a kid. And again, my body's trash, but I was doing 10 miles a day because that was the only time I could push my body to the point where it was no longer my body and it was my brain pushing me.
I haze myself. Like, and
hell yeah.
I say that like I'm joking, but I'm not.
No,
I'm not joking. Like I legitimately will haze myself.
I saw your gym pictures the other day, and I was like, "Hell yeah, brother!" Because I know exactly where you went.
Like I put on my I have a plate carrier, and I put it on. It has plates, so I mean it's not super heavy, but it's heavy enough.
Me too.
And
it's
then
about
I put
4
on
feet away from her.
I put on my pack,
right
and
around the corner.
I have a 50-pound sandbag that I threw in my pack. So I had on like 85, 90 pounds.
Yeah,
like I weighed myself. Yeah, I weighed myself, and I was like, yep. And I went and I like walked / jogged like 3 miles. And I got back, and my hips and my knees were killing me. My shoulders were killing me.
Yes.
And I put it down, and I was like, that was awesome. Like it's like the Drax moment when he like jumps in the animal and he's like killing it, and then he gets spit out, and then he's like, that was awesome. And he's like
Drax
half dead. He's like, that was awesome. I'm like, yep. It's just, and that's why I'm always trying to tell people, I'm like, if you are feeling depressed and angry, get up and go move. Get up and go do something.
Go do combat therapy. You know?
Because you don't, right?
Join Fight Club.
You don't, like, the motivation doesn't come before you do it. It comes while you're doing it.
Absolutely.
And it's like, that's the hardest thing for people to understand is like, well, I'm not motivated. Like, and you're not going to get motivated because you're sitting here thinking about how you're not motivated. Go do it, and then the motivation will show up. And
there's a reason I pound pre-workout and energy drinks. You know, it's literally to tell like the pre-workout literally shuts off that like doubting part of my brain. It's like, I don't want to do that. Why would I do that? It's going to hurt tomorrow, whatever. Like the least my body has ever hurt is when I'm breaking my body daily, because it's just so used to that constant pain and regrowth that it starts to grow faster and heal faster and shut off the pain. You know, and then I go like a month or two of just stagnant. I've been working on paperwork, this, that, the other. My knees are starting to pop out of place when I'm sitting down again. And like, this sucks, you know, and but in the other thing, you know, Kat kind of talked about a little bit about like getting out, right? And we talk about it a lot in like in religion, right? When you become a Christian, you're born again, right? And we talk about it as like a death of whatever, and then you're born into this new thing, right? You're the same body, you're the same everything, except like where you're at mentally has changed, right? You know, and that's that death and rebirth. And there's like, oh, well, I didn't come back out of a womb. You know, it's like, no, retard. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the air either, but I'm half retarded, so it's okay.
Why is everything fine when he does it?
It's because, listen, I will.
We had this conversation.
Yeah, I am half retarded, so it's not offensive for me to say something's retarded because I'm picking on myself, right?
This feels a little jaded.
And I say it in the most loving way possible, as I realize that I have a really inappropriately shaped heart. My 5-year-old drew this on my hand today, but it looks like a
I was
Anyways,
looking at that and I
yeah.
saw it and I was like, I don't think that was there last time, but I
No,
like it.
it's our kids when they go to school they
Yeah.
put hearts on their hands, which is really funny because
Yeah.
they'll fall asleep and they'll have like a teardrop, heart on their face. And it's like, that looks bad.
Your kid was in prison and killed somebody.
Yeah.
Honestly, the one that it was
The
on,
little one, I could see that. He probably
he'd make it. He'd be fine.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd worry about whoever he was bunked with, but he'd be fine.
Yeah.
But
Carving
I mean,
shanks
that
at
kid
lunch.
assaults me. He'll like come across the room, like smash me. I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. My ribs are, as I have like literally a rib binder on right now, like
Yeah.
holding my ribs where they
He has
belong.
no
But
sense of
the
self-preservation
kid is savage.
at all.
But with that death and rebirth, right? Whether it's religion, leaving our civilian life to go into the Marine Corps, we don't really have time to work through that. We just table it. But allowing ourselves space and time to mourn, right? And it sounds
Thank you.
absolutely ridiculous, right? But
Nope. I've said that before. It's
yeah.
sorry, and I was literally gonna say, if you didn't say it, I was gonna say it. Because it's literally, you have to mourn the loss of that
Yep, it's
part
gone.
of you.
Good, bad, or otherwise,
And
it's still gone.
yeah.
Yep.
And I think there's the what is it, the 7 stages of grief, and it's, you almost have to walk through that, you know, and go through each step, and you can't skip a step, right? It's like when you're grieving, to grieve properly and reach the end, you really need to go through all those steps and process each one. It's the same thing when you leave the military. It's like when I left law enforcement, it's the same thing. I went through it again. Now I got through it a lot faster the second time, but the first time it took me years.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you're in denial, and then you're angry, and then you're sad, and then you're mad, and it's just, and you go through all these steps, and you have to process each one. And it's like, the denial is like, I can still do all those things that I did, and I can still, no, I can't. My body
Well, I
doesn't
think
let me,
some of
right?
the
I have to
denial
accept that,
too
and
is
I've thrown on my flak vest and gone for a few miles too. Yeah, I could do it, but I pay for
Yeah.
it for about 3 weeks. It's really fun though.
I feel like
Yeah.
the denial isn't just about what your body's capable of doing. I think that it's even the denial of I can recreate this in the civilian world somehow. Like I'm
Yes.
going to find the right friend group, or I'm going to find the right career, I'm going to find the right combination of things that's going to make me feel like I'm still in the military without being in the military. And I think that there's a huge amount of acceptance that I have to work with clients through, of like, it's not just about grieving the fact that you're not in the military. It's about grieving the fact that that life can't be made in the civilian population. What you're looking for brotherhood and civilian friends, and that's not a thing. You can't recreate that, like there is no civilian equivalent. And I think that it goes into that grieving process, but it's a hard thing to accept.
It is. And but you have to accept it. And that's the problem. Like, looking back on the past, you can't change the past either, right? So it's like, you look at your military career, and me in particular, just personally, I feel like I didn't do everything I wanted to do. I wanted to get into special forces. I wanted to be able to go do these things. And I got to go on multiple combat deployments, but I didn't get to I still feel like I didn't do enough, right? And I have to learn to accept that. I don't like that I have to accept it. I wish that I could have done more. I know that what happened is the way that God wanted it to, and it was the best thing, because had I gone special forces, I wouldn't have met my wife, and I wouldn't have been on the journey that I'm on now, and maybe I would have died. I don't know.
Right.
Accepting that is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that, but it's like, at some point you have to get to a point where you're willing and able to accept you can't change it. And the same thing with when you get to the civilian world, it's not going to ever be the same. And you have to accept that. You can still have a great life in the civilian world. Sometimes you can have a much better life in the civilian world than you ever had in the military. It's just different.
Right.
And you have to accept it.
It's apples and oranges, and you have to stop waiting for them to shift into all apples or all oranges.
Yep. And there's so many people that message me, and they're like, I can't move on. I'm stuck. And I'm like, you have to, and it's so hard sometimes, especially when you've clung to that hope for so long that you'll be able to find it or recreate it. And it's like, you can't.
Well, and I think that process is a lot harder too. Like, I've worked with people who they didn't choose to leave the military.
Yes.
Like, they were in one way, shape, or form essentially
booted out.
see ya.
Yeah.
And so it's it adds a layer to it, I think, in those cases too of like, I didn't actually choose to be a civilian again, but
Right.
now I have no choice and I have to be a civilian again. Uh,
Yeah, leaving on your own terms always feels different.
right.
Good or bad,
Yeah.
right? Like I chose to get out for a lot of reasons. I still sometimes miss it,
Yeah.
and I look at some of my friends that were junior Marines to me and they're sergeant majors or whatever. It's like
Yep.
I'd be retired. I'd be retired or I'd be the next, sergeant major of the Marine Corps, whatever it is, like eh, I when I joined was going to stay in forever. And I got out because I got in trouble for calling somebody fat on Facebook and they called it hazing and took a stripe.
Fantastic.
America. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Should have just beat him up instead.
Yeah.
they were worried that I would, yeah, there was fears of that. There was actually threats that if like he stubbed his toe wrong, we were going to jail. So yeah, we didn't, but, uh, it just was what it was. But, that's why I got out, because I was like, I worked so hard to be here and this is like my dream and it was
And
all
this is how
taken
you're
away
treating me.
because yeah, because
Yeah.
somebody skipped a deployment because of who they married someone's daughter who had pull and they got out literally the day we were leaving, showed up with a chit saying they're not going. And then, we lost a bunch of friends and then they were there. And I never thought about like the survivor's guilt. He's got experience of like, I chose to not go and I abandoned my friends for whatever. And, like some of them
Mhm.
died. And like, I know what I deal with, thinking about, and Kat already said it, cause she's just that person. But like, did I do enough to keep all my friends alive? Could have I bled more? Could have I given more? Could have I, caught a bullet for one of them or stepped on that IED instead of them or whatever it was. And again, I tried really, really, really hard to always be the guy in the risk for everybody else because that's just what I wanted to do. But like I now think about, the flip side of that and was like, boy, he was probably dealing with some shit too, for not going. And I had no sympathy for that because I was a Marine grunt and that's just, how we're trained. And we don't have time to be, how's your feelings today when you're in it just doesn't exist. There's a time and place for that and that hope and healing and everything that comes from where I'm at today and where you're at today comes after service and that's for a reason. We don't have time in a gunfight to worry about how that trigger pull is gonna feel later. You don't even think about it. It's just
Do the job.
natural reaction, but that's why I got out and it was kind of I chose it, but I didn't, I tried to reenlist. I told them if they got rid of the battalion level and gave me meritorious C5, I'd stay. And it didn't happen. So okay, well, bye.
Yeah.
But, and
Yeah.
I
There's a lot of people that have messaged me, and I've had several conversations with guys that got forced out because of injuries or because of a decision they made that they were young and they made a boneheaded decision and they got kicked out
yeah,
for it, and
talking
they
crap on Facebook.
yeah, right. It's just something. It's that easy, and that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
people don't understand. They're like, well, how did if you got
Well,
kicked
it's the
out, you're
Marine Corps,
obviously a
yeah.
horrible person, and I'm like, no, that's not true. Like
No, I
they
just
may have made a bad decision. That doesn't make them a bad person. Making a bad choice doesn't make you a bad person. It's it's all about, moving on and learning from that decision and moving on and growing. And if you make a whole slew of bad decisions and you never learn from it, you might be a bad person. You might just need, you might need some serious
redirection.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like,
Yeah, you should get a
that was my,
therapist.
yeah, right.
Gotta
My
watch out for
philosophy
them, they're crazy.
yeah, some of them are, that was my philosophy as a police officer, though, was, it's like most of these people are not bad people. They just made a bunch of bad decisions. And sometimes putting them in jail was the best option because that would kind of help redirect them and be like, hey, you're going to kill yourself or get killed doing this and you need
Or
to
kill
stop,
someone else, yeah.
or kill somebody else and ruin your life that way and ruin somebody else's life. And, so uh, I have a lot of sympathy for guys that and girls that got forced out because of injury or because of, a poor decision they made, because that in and of itself is a moral injury, because it's like I wanted to do X, Y, and Z and I only got to do X. you Or I was never given the opportunity because like my buddy was a Green Beret and then he wanted to go into Delta. He had it all lined up. He had every connection he needed. He was going to do the NDOC and all this stuff. And then he had one parachute jump left and he broke his back, and he needed surgery and he was like done, like just absolutely done. The military was like, there's no way you can continue. It wasn't even an option. And, my brother-in-law, he's getting medically retired from the Army because he was in the Marine Corps and then he went and joined the Army because he got out of the Marines, joined the Army. He was trying to go airborne, tore his ankle up on one jump and then got that fixed up. And then on the very next jump, like destroyed his knee. And, now he's being medically retired, you know, and I mean, there's a whole list of people that I've talked to. As a guy that had on the show that he stepped on a rock during a hike and it tore his leg up because he sprained his leg real bad. Then
Ugh.
he got a compensation injury on his other side. And then that got worse. And then he got, basically made fun of for being, a malingerer because he was always hurt. And then while he was trying to PT upper body because his lower body was messed up, he tore his rotator cuff. And then, I mean, it was just
My
one thing
God.
after another. And then his whole career was just ruined because of a rock that he stepped on
Right.
Bad
when he was
universe.
like fresh out of boot camp. And it's like just this horrible set of circumstances that could have happened to absolutely anybody.
Right. And wouldn't have made a difference if he was selling insurance or sitting at a desk job, right?
Exactly.
You can still do a multitude of careers with those injuries. I mean,
Yes.
it still sucks. It's still like a lot of
Right.
time, doctors, surgeries, whatever. It
Yeah.
doesn't, negate
Yep.
that piece. But in terms of, again, you look at like military, first responders, that those types of careers, like it literally takes your career from you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
Yep.
look at us and like, we've already talked about the moral injury piece, like, and how signs and symptoms are so similar, but moral injury is not a diagnosis, so insurance won't pay for it. So the VA doesn't count it as anything. And so in order to get therapy through the VA, you have to have PTSD. It suddenly makes you ineligible to be a mountain of things, including, a police officer most days, depending on the department. Apparently in certain states, New Hampshire, they see that as a reason to not let you be a dad. So you're welcome for my service, New Hampshire. And it's a work in progress. We're changing things. But um um but it's literally like those things do affect, your entire future career path. I literally joined the Marine Corps for two reasons. One, to honor my brother's life that had passed, and he wanted to do military service. So once he was gone, that was where I chose to go. But two, I wanted to look really good on a resume to be a law enforcement officer. Like my dream, I was that nerd. I was the homeschooled jungle freak. That yeah,
I call him that all the
she calls me
time.
that all the
Now he stole it.
time. I
He
only
just
went to
owned it
the
now.
yeah, for what it just is what it is.
Built
But
into his identity
I
now.
I only showed up to the high school to do like foreign language stuff, or I ran cross country. I actually started the track club that's now a varsity sport. So you're
Homeschool jungle
welcome,
freak.
public school, for that. But I was also like the police cadet. Like before I had a driver's license, I was directing traffic, with the little safety vest and my little radio and thinking I was the coolest thing in the world.
I bet you
Uh,
were really cute.
and that was a dream of mine, and it never happened. Now geopolitical stuff, I don't know that I would ever want that job anymore. I commend the guys that are doing the job right. Um, the ones that are doing the job dirty, I got other opinions about
I
that.
hope they step on a rock and they have to leave.
I hope they get the help they deserve. Or I hope they get the help beyond what they deserve is probably the better way to say it, because there's a lot of guys
Right.
out there that are using the position and the badge to hide behind their own um issues, and they very clearly need help and aren't getting it. Um,
A
so
lot of rocks out
I hope
there.
they,
Stay safe, everybody.
you know, I hope they find the help that they
Some
need
of them
to.
would deserve to, maybe it'd be better for them to step on the rock and then, then that would force them to get the help they need. It's
Absolutely,
Yes.
but
having been a law enforcement officer and, seeing these guys, from the inside and talking to them and there's a lot of people that abuse their position,
Yeah.
and
in every single
it
field, but
Yeah.
law enforcement
absolutely
especially.
everything.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
law enforcement's just different because you're given a lot of authority, and you have, and that authority can go to your head and it can be abused and it can be abused in a litany of situations at home, personally at other, it's just, unfortunately, some people, it just goes to their head and then they
Yeah.
just abuse
Yeah.
it. But it's,
I mean, New
it,
Hampshire literally has a law that states that a chief of police cannot use his position to influence the divorce proceedings of his girlfriend. That's about
Wonder
all I'll
why.
say about that.
Yeah. My word.
There's
And that,
only one way
yeah.
I know about that law, and it's because it's going to work in my favor. But,
Oh, jeez.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hope
And
he gets that
again,
When
when he
you
deserves
pay for
to.
OnlyVets, you get that story too.
right.
For
Yeah.
an extra $7.99,
Scan the QR code.
scan the
QR
QR.
code. Yeah. Bing. Yeah. Oh my word. So I love I love conversations like this because again, it's like we're talking about one thing and then we're covering 87 other topics. But
Forgot
again,
where
it's
we
all
started.
80.
well. I mean, it's all connected to just the moral injury that because I have admittedly moral injury from the military. Now that I've looked at it and I've studied what it is, I can specifically say, yeah, I definitely experienced and have moral injuries from the military because I feel like we were not given the truth about what happened on 9/11. I firmly believe that there's more to that story, and I feel like we were at some level lied to and led into these conflicts that maybe didn't necessarily need to happen. And a lot of people died and were injured and bad stuff happened. And I think we're justified in asking why we did it in the first place. So I would say that, and that's all because I don't want to get it. I don't need it to be a conspiracy theory podcast, but I feel like there's a lot more that we need to, could have been told and weren't told. But
Back to the bookshelf.
Sorry,
Yeah.
not to interrupt.
No, you're good. Yeah.
It's written by David Wood. It's literally called What Have We Done? Sorry about the random voucher in there.
Yeah.
That's a
It's a
bookmark.
62-cent.
Started reading it, so there's two different marks in there.
Yeah.
But it's literally about the moral injury specifically for 9/11 vets, for like basically that. And kind of, again, what Aaron was talking about, like kind of the combining of both of those things of what were we led to believe about 9/11 that encouraged so many people to, enlist in the first place, and then to have the withdrawal happen, and then looking back on the things that you had to do when you were involved in that war, and what did, like, I love just the title of like, what have we done? Because I feel like that is something that I've sat in a space with clients so often of them sitting of just, what have I done? Right. And it was in the name of this thing that's not real, because I was lied to or I was misinformed. And I think that just, I mean, the title in and of itself like always hits me because it's just, I'm just a civilian, and it's still like the weight of that of like, what have we done?
I mean, you're just a civilian that sits in those spaces with us that gets to carry that burden with us. So
right.
Yeah, but that's not the same.
Just a civilian.
That's never going to be the same thing.
No, it's not ever going to be the same thing. But you also like, versus somebody that's, pumping gas on the New Jersey Turnpike, you're at least sitting in that space and seeing more of the pain that we experience and feeling more of it
deeply involved.
Yeah. Some other people that have no clue. So you're not just a civilian, you're like a civilian that knows us and sees us deeper than most will ever. So you're welcome.
Because you're gonna cry.
I love making her uncomfortable. It's my favorite.
Right.
Wildly uncomfortable. But anyway, if you haven't read this book, I
yeah,
it's a good book.
I recommend you read it, and I tell clients to don't binge read it. Take it in slowly.
It's heavy and hurts a little.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Oh, and that's unfortunately a lot of the stuff that goes into healing from that is heavy, and it's realizing and being able to open your eyes and say, maybe we don't have the whole truth. Maybe this wasn't exactly how they portrayed it. And if it wasn't exactly how they portrayed it, what does that mean for me? And what does that mean for us as a veteran community and as a, because again, you look at the whole thing that really started, I would say when moral injury really became a lot more prominent was during Vietnam, because everybody's sitting there going, why are we here? We're fighting somebody else's war. We're 10,000 miles from home, and this doesn't affect my family. This, and could it have affected America in the long run? Maybe. I don't know. It's just ultimately the country became communist anyway. And did, what changed after the war? Is the same thing that happened with Afghanistan. We just left and everything went back to the way that it was. And it's probably worse now than it was before. So it's like, so guys that served in Vietnam, and I have a lot of older vets that are on my page, and they say, they talk to me all the time, and they're like, you know, it's very, it's difficult to look at it and justify it and come to terms with it. And, it's from a law enforcement perspective, I was just thinking about a story that, a situation that I was involved in that I have told Lydia, several times. I'm just ashamed to have even been involved in it because there was a lady in the county where our department was. She had bought a house. She had gotten a settlement for something. She bought the house with cash. So the whole house was paid off, and she lived there. She didn't have the water turned on or the power turned on. She literally almost homesteaded. She had like water in, barrels and drums, and then she had like generators that she would charge, in the backyard, like solar generators, and she wasn't paying her county taxes. So because she wasn't paying her taxes, they basically sold her home out from underneath her, and they sold it to somebody while she was still living in it. And they showed up to take custody of the house, and she's still living in it because it's her house. She bought it. So they contact us, and we ended up sending some officers out, and I was one of those officers, and we got there, and they're like, we have to remove her because she no longer owns this house. And then I was like, didn't she buy it though? And they're like, yeah, but she hasn't paid her taxes in like 2 years. And I'm like, so she owns the house, but we're just selling it to somebody else. Like the county had already sold the house, taken the money for it to pay off her tax debt and all this other stuff. Anyway, we ended up having to like force entry into the house, and she was in there, and she ended up having to go like to the hospital for whatever reason, because she was kind of mentally off anyway. But the moral injury aspect of it was I should not have I should have just said, I'm not doing this. Like, she owns this house. And the only reason that you're taking this house from her is because she hasn't paid a property tax on a property that she owns.
Right.
Right.
And it was, to this day, I hate even thinking about it, because it was like, I wish that I hadn't even been involved in that situation at
Yeah.
all. Or I would have just said, I'm not comfortable doing this. Like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
do this.
Right.
But it's one of those things that competent authority, you know, told us that we had to do it, and told us that
Right.
this was our job. So
And
we
when you
did
say
it.
no, it's
And
a career ender too, is the worst
yeah,
part,
it could have
it's
been.
like,
It very easily could have been, because they could
yeah,
have been like, well, he's going to disobey a direct order, he's
right.
out,
Or
and it
they're like,
was,
"Oh, well, Evan's got PTSD, so maybe we put him on a leave of absence," and
yeah. And then we'll just get rid of him
yeah,
because we don't like him.
weaponized.
And,
Right.
exactly. But don't worry. They didn't use my PTSD against me. It's fine. They, they said they didn't, even though it was discussed in, you know, recorded interviews between people that should not have been discussing it. So anyway,
Yeah, America.
yeah. So yeah, it's fine.
Thank you for your
Uh,
service. That's
yeah, well done. So that's one thing that I struggle with, is just, being involved in stuff like that, that it's like a competent authority said, like, you know, we have to do this. It's like when we were in Afghanistan and we're in the middle of a firefight, and we were cleared to engage any motorcycles entering the engagement area. And because they were coming in on motorcycles, and I see a motorcycle, and I call my lieutenant, and I was like, I'm confirming that we are cleared to engage motorcycle guys on motorcycles.
Yep.
And he's like, yes, if they're entering the engagement area, shoot them in the face, basically is what he said. And I was like, okay. And I drew down on this guy, and I had the DM rifle, and I put that crosshair right on his chest, and I was literally squeezing the trigger. And this little girl like peeks out from behind him, because there was, he lived there, I guess, and he's just retarded. And he was trying to go home, and he had his daughter with him. And had I shot him, it probably would have gone through him and killed her. I didn't shoot. I didn't, because I was like, I saw it in time, thankfully. But it's like, competent authority told me, if they're entering the engagement area, shoot them. I was like, got it. And I pulled up, and I was ready to smoke this dude right off his bike. And he was like maybe 50 yards away from me at this point. And I was like, yep, this is going to be the easiest shot of my life, because he's driving straight towards me, and I was like, this dude's toast. And I go to pull the trigger, and she peeks out, from behind him to see what's going on. And I was like, oh my word, I almost killed an innocent dude and this little girl. Thankfully I didn't, but it's one of those things that could have been,
But I think
really
even the fact
traumatizing.
that
And
you
it's,
still carry that, right? There's moral injury
yeah,
even in the almosts. And I think that that's something that a lot of my clients struggle with too, is it doesn't have to be that you pulled the trigger in that instance, the fact that you almost did, your brain can still piece together the rest of it, right? Your brain
Yeah.
can still
Yeah.
create a narrative
Yep.
Yeah.
and create a timeline of, "Oh my god, this could have been the other result." And because our brain is just so phenomenal, right? And we are our own worst enemy, you can still feel some of the emotion that would be attached to that alternate reality without it ever having happened. And
Yep.
and when you look at someone's time in service, especially if they went and, deployed, like, it's filled with almosts. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's chock
Yeah.
full of them, right? And so,
Every day.
like, if
Every day.
you right, all day, every day, and so I mean, even the guy you were talking about, like with the bullet,
Right.
if that thing went anywhere else, right? The almosts,
Yeah.
and those
Yep.
still matter too, again, because our brain is so creative and so innovative that it can create these narratives and create these alternate timelines and realities, even though they're not real. And we can still connect with them regardless, and they can still cause problems regardless.
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah. And that's, oh, go ahead.
even in the almost or, we talked a little bit about, the moral injury of feeling like, we don't have the full picture of why the wars happened or, whatever else. I'll share some wisdom from another Marine combat vet that I was told, uh, Buddy Hackett. He's a nonprofit leader and a gun store owner or whatever else. And he actually has his social worker license, or at least all the education to go with it, but never went licensure. The running joke between us is we're both so messed up that we have, therapist spouses that are the only people that'll put up with us because his wife's also a therapist. He and I had a really, really good chat about my moral injury stuff, and so I'll share what he said to me, and that was, and this is harder for the Vietnam guys, right? Because a lot of them were drafted and they didn't volunteer to go, but for like our generation, the volunteer warfighters, and it was kind of an epiphany for me, right? It's like, well, I fought this war and it had no purpose now, this and the other, and quite literally, he said it doesn't matter. Like, put all of that aside, take all of that narrative and park it. When you signed the dotted line, what mattered? What did you know when you signed the dotted line? And even if you had pulled the trigger on that target, right? That would suck for sure.
Hmm.
But if you look at what you knew when you started to put your finger on that trigger, you knew it was a target coming in.
Yep.
That thing could have blown up and killed you.
Yeah.
And until that cute little face popped around the corner, that's what you knew. And so the same thing with our service. What we knew at the time we signed the paper was the Taliban's bad. They attacked us. We need to go stop them before they do it again. Period, end of story. And whether that's the true story or not, or whether it has, a billion other reasons or not, just doesn't matter because what we did in that moment was clear and clean on our conscience. And that's what we need to focus more on and stop giving so much weight to uh, the hindsight. And
Yeah.
so
Yep.
that was his message to me. And that healed a lot of stuff inside of my own self that I hadn't I hadn't addressed or considered was quite literally that aspect of it. And it took another combat Marine from a different generation of combat Marines that have done some serious things in their lives to say that's also been through, kind of the direction you're going with your life or that Kat's already gone with her, education is like, you know, a professional mental health counselor, level education saying, let it go, like give yourself the grace to know that you didn't go. It'd be a different story if I signed up knowing that there was questionable reasons to sign up. I signed up believing that we were doing the right thing, and that's what I went and did, and that's, basically give yourself the grace to, forgive yourself for what we didn't know.
Well, and I think, like, the other piece too is, like, in that instance, like, if you had pulled the trigger, right, like, there is so much about war and combat and how they live life in a lot of those regions that civilians don't understand, right? Like, in a civilian world, women and children are off limits, right? Um, that doesn't equate in those spaces when they're utilizing women and children to kill soldiers, and they're using them in ways that, again, civilians can't imagine. it is so beyond our comprehension to even think about the different ways that women and children are weaponized in these spaces and in these regions.
Yep.
And so again, going back to what Aaron's saying of like, I've worked with so many clients that did unfortunately kill a child or kill women or both. And it's under the directive of, yeah, this is during a time period where women and children couldn't be deemed innocent or safe because of the way that they were being weaponized, and it doesn't make it okay. And I think that that's again like so much of moral injury is you're trying to make combat and war pieces fit in a civilian context, and they don't because they can't. And then the shame that goes with that, right, is part of that problem. Is you're trying to say, well, I did this thing and it took a piece of me because I'm thinking of it in a civilian world when it didn't happen in a civilian world. It happened in war, it happened in combat. And the rules are not the same, and the life is not the same, and the morals are not the same because they can't be. And that's the ugly reality of war, regardless of what generation of war we're looking at. But I think that there's so many parallels for, Vietnam vets and, post 9/11 vets because of the moral injury piece. And so much of it, regardless of whatever political side you fall on and, X, Y, or Z, I'm more of an anarchist, like let it all burn. You know, it really is like the government let our soldiers down, and it didn't just let them down in a way that was like, "Oh, well, like, thanks for your service, here's only 10%." It's, "Thanks for your service, we just redefined everything about you and everything
Yeah.
that you just did in honor of our country, in honor of freedom and, all of these things, with one fell swoop," you know?
Yeah. Yep. And I remember when that happened, I was actually in the police academy when we went through the withdrawal. And I remember there's a lot of people in the academy. They knew that I was a veteran, and I think there was 2 of us that were veterans in that class, which was surprising. It was a pretty big class. But I remember them coming to me specifically and being like, "Are you okay?" Like, I watched all that on the news, and, like, I knew that was, like, it was hard for me to watch, and I never, they never served, and I was like, "I am okay. I'm processing," and I was literally just thinking, I was like, "I don't know how to feel right now." And I was just distracted by the academy a lot. That was a good distraction for me because I was focused on succeeding in the academy and, getting through that. But it was like, there was even people there that were like, "This really sucks." And they were looking at me like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "I think we have PT this afternoon and I need to focus on that. I think we have a test on Friday that I need to focus on." And I just kind of, I pushed it out of my mind, but I mean, I did talk about it with Lydia a lot. I talked about it with some of my other friends, and I made a video just talking about it. And, again, this was back when I was near the beginning of my time, kind of working on this page and, working on my platform. And so, I mean, it wasn't something I spent a lot of time on, but I know that there was a lot of people that sent me messages and they're like, "What do we do now? Like, how do we move forward from this?" And I was like, I talked to one of my buddies and he said it well. He's like, "We got to do bad shit to bad people and they deserved it." And
Sure
he's
did.
like, "And if it's nothing beyond that, you know, we have to learn to live with it." He's like, "It made us who we are." He's like, I don't miss, he's like, "I don't regret doing what we did." He's like, "What we did was deserved. Like they deserved it. They're bad people." And everything we did, they deserved it. And he's like, "Did we necessarily have to be there? Did we accomplish what we wanted to accomplish?" He's like, "I don't know." He's like, "I don't have the answers to all that, but I know that we got to go and, throw down with some bad people and, do bad things to them." And that was one of the ways that he kind of helped work through it in his mind as well, because he was in Sangin and they lost a lot of people. He was in 3-5 and they lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, he lost several of his close friends. He, was with them trying to save their lives in the back of a truck flying down the road, you know, trying to insert IVs and, put tourniquets on while these guys are literally bleeding to death. So I mean, he experienced a lot. And, he's still in the military. He's actually a warrant officer in the Marine Corps. He's a gunner. And but he's even dealt with like being betrayed by the military, being betrayed by the Marine Corps, just treating him like he's a liability. And if you knew this guy, you would laugh when I say that, because it's just, you look at this guy and you're like, there's no way they would think that. But, he's going through, they tried to take his job. They tried to relieve him of duty. They tried to basically, take away his position and force him out. And he's at like 19 years. He's almost retired. And
Probably
they're
why
like
they're
trying to
trying
force
so
him out.
hard.
Exactly. And it's like, how do you justify that when you've given 19 years of your life to an organization, and your blood, sweat, and tears and parts of your body? Because, I mean, he got blown up multiple times. He got shot. Well, I don't know if he got shot, but he got blown up. And, it's like, how do you live with that? So it's just, there's so many examples of this, in the military, and even, in law enforcement. Like, again, my moral injury from law enforcement is I, gave them everything that I had, and then they just turned around and fired me.
Yep.
And they said that I was a ticking time bomb. That was, a liability, and I was just going to do something. And, it's like, so I have to deal with that as well. And it,
I think there's
I'm,
so much like anger in that. It like everyone wonders why veterans are angry.
yeah,
And it's like, but everyone misses the part where like it's not that you guys just gave your bodies or your time or your health or all you gave literally parts of your soul that you can't get back from the moral injury of it all. And then to get slapped in the face with it in all these different ways, like, thanks for your service. I'm so glad that you gave up these pieces of your soul. But here's like 10% off at Applebee's once a year.
Yeah.
yeah.
You are
Thanks for
welcome.
applying to our position. We love our veterans. You can have this entry level position, like, we love our veterans. Here's this entry level position that pays, half of what you were being paid before and comes with zero benefits. Like, we love our veterans. Thank you for your service. And it's like, okay, yeah.
So
And that,
far, at least in my life, thank you for your service typically feels like a knife in the back because it's usually where it's coming from. Uh,
yeah,
But then everyone wonders why you guys are so angry.
yeah.
yeah,
Can't imagine where that comes
I
from.
would. Yeah, to clear up the airspace. I don't think we're necessarily that angry. It's just it's really hard dealing with stupid people,
Yep.
and it's not that we're frustrated for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not angry all the time. I mean, as a dad, you get this, and as a parent, you get this, right? Like the first 10 times you said something like, "Hey, don't do that. Hey, don't do that. Hey, don't do that." And they didn't listen, and then you have to raise your voice and you feel like a bad person for raising your voice. It's no different than us dealing with the rest of the world. And
Right.
for me, it drives me absolutely crazy when they're like, "Oh, he's got PTSD, so you're a ticking time bomb, right?" How many guys on that force have actually been in a gunfight? Right? How many guys in that force have been shot at? How many guys in that force understand the proper application of violence and have done it? Probably less than I can count on one hand, right?
Depends on how many veterans
Yeah.
they have.
Yeah.
Right. But 9 out of 10 times, the guys saying he's a ticking time bomb have never done a thing in their life, but they're threatened by you. They're threatened by what you've done, because when it comes time for them to choose a new leader or whatever else, you're a threat because you've got a reputation and you've got a history of somebody that's been there, done that. Just like every other arena we step into, we are automatically a threat and a target. And the easiest way to get rid of us is say, they got PTSD. They're crazy. Credit us, and they take the carpet out from under our feet. And that's why we're angry.
And then this is another thing that they did with me. And I know that I've talked to other people that have experienced it, and they've expressed that this has happened to them. They will gaslight you into believing what they're telling you is true about yourself. So, like, I started to believe that because I was being told all the time. And I started looking at myself going, like, and like rethinking and reliving every situation that I had been in with those particular people, and being like, what did I do? What could I have done better? And
Am I
just that,
crazy? Yeah.
yeah, like, maybe I am crazy. Like, maybe they see me as like this legitimately like psychotic person. Maybe I am, a psychotic person, and I started really struggling with, overthinking it and overanalyzing everything and really starting to believe what they were saying. And, Lydia's like, you're not. You're not. I live with you. You're not. Like, I'm telling you, you're not. And I'm like, oh, you're just saying that because you're my wife, and it's like, she knows me best. And she's like, I'm telling you, I would be honest with you. If I was really concerned that you were like gonna snap and go and like really do something bad, I would tell you. And she kept saying like, you're not. But it's like, when you hear that, it really puts in your mind, like, maybe it's true. Maybe I am.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, for
you
sure.
start dwelling on that. And, and then when you don't interrupt that thought process
Start believing it.
consistently,
Yeah.
you start believing it. And
Yeah.
then you're like, great, I am crazy. And then, had I allowed myself to continue spiraling, because at that time I was still, when I got fired November of 2024, I was still drinking. And I wasn't necessarily drinking that heavily because I had like quit, and I was still kind of hiding it and just indulging secretly. And I was using that to just kind of numb everything. And then it started getting worse. And then I ended up getting it. But instead of allowing it to continue getting worse, I went to a recovery program, and I started really working on sobriety and, working through that. But I was on that I was at that fork in the road. I could have gone one way and just been like, screw it, I'm just going to drink and everybody can deal with it. And I probably would have lost my family and or killed myself. Um, but it was one of those things where it was like, I had to decide and stop believing what was being said about me and look at the facts. The fact that, I had done really well in the academy. I hadn't ever had citizen complaints about me snapping and going off on them. I had 0 citizen complaints, to the point that I got the one that got me fired, that they used to fire me. I had 0. And I presented that, and the arbitrator, when it was put in front of an objective arbitrator, she was like, so you've had how many complaints? And I was like,
This one.
1, 1. And she's like, 1, but he's a ticking time bomb. And that was so like validating to me,
Validating.
when she was literally like looking at the chief and she's like, how many has he had? 1? 1. Okay. And then she'd like look at him and be like, and then like look back at me and be like, okay. And then like continue. Cause I mean, she's objective, right? She can't show partiality and she can't kind of give away what she's thinking, but like she had a pretty bad poker
Her
face.
subtitles
'Cause
were on.
yeah, like they would say something and she'd be like, and then you'd see her like write stuff down and she's like glaring at them while she's writing. And I was like, this is hilarious. But it was interesting just to see and have that put in front of them and in front of her, and have her ultimately take my side. But a lot of people don't get to experience that.
No, and I
They
think
go
that, like,
through all the negative, and then they never get any validation because there's no retribution or justice done. And it's just, they're left to live with that. And that leaves a huge hole in these people's chests of just trying to live with, the negative stuff that was said about them and done to them. And
And not having a space to voice that, and we hold it inside, and that's where we get angry veteran, right?
well, I
yeah,
think even with like what you
yeah,
were talking about, right? With like once you're in that headspace and you've started to believe it, your brain will discount the other evidence, right? Like here you have your wife who knows you better than anybody. She's known you how long, right? You have kids
hmm
together, right? And she's like, "No, you're fine. No, you're fine." And in your brain, you're like, "Of course you're going to say that. You're my wife. Like, what wife wouldn't fucking say that? Damn it, crap."
That's
you're fine.
two.
It's really
I
fine.
need a GoFundMe. Someone pay off my swear jar. Um,
uh,
right,
The
but like
link's on OnlyVets.
your brain was literally writing off what she's saying because it was discounting what you're being fed to believe. But then this other random person, right, this arbitrator, there's no skin in the game, right? Her siding with you hit different than your wife
yes.
siding with you. And it's not because you like
Yeah.
somehow like don't value your wife's opinion or you think that like this arbitrator had a better idea, right? But sometimes when you're in that headspace, even the connections that you have, they're not landing the right way, right? It's you need like that different vessel, and not everybody, like what you're saying, like not everybody has that or that space where they can open up about it and have the opportunity to have that other person kind of come in and have that validation, of, oh my God, maybe it's not me.
Yep. Well, I
Well, and
posted a video, a short video, it's just a little clip, and all it said was, "What's one sentence that killed you, but you had to pretend like it didn't matter?" And that's all it was, and I'd posted it yesterday, and I
yeah, I saw
posted it
that.
about, like, 1:30, 2:00. I mean, it's really
It
blown
blew
up with
up.
not necessarily the views, but the comments. Like, there's, like well, when I checked this morning, I spent a little while yesterday and then some time this morning responding to comments. There was, like, 1,300 comments, just all these people saying, what had happened to them and what was said, and just responding to them and being like a couple people sent me messages, and I would just respond because I'm not perfect on responding, but I try to respond at least to say, like, I heard you, like, I'm listening. And then, one guy, I was like, that sucks that was said to you. Like, you did not deserve that. Like, one guy said, like, there's several people on there that have said, like, their parents were like, you were a mistake and I hate that you ever were born. And I'm like, you didn't deserve that. And you need to hear that. I want you to know you didn't deserve to be told that, regardless of what you've done. Like, you didn't deserve to hear that. No one deserves to hear that. And honestly, some people just shouldn't be parents. And, like, that's not fair to you that happened. And then there's, other people have said, like, well, my ex said, I hate you because you came back and you're a different person now. You came back from, combat and you're a different person now. And I hate you and I'm leaving you. And then it's like, you didn't deserve that either because you're dealing with everything that you're dealing with. And were you a perfect person? No, probably not. I know you're not,
I
but
wasn't.
yeah, but it's like, I understand, like, they're probably right in some little way, but they didn't need to say it that way.
Right.
And they shouldn't have said it that way because you didn't deserve to have it presented to you in that way. And just responding to these comments, it's interesting because as soon as you respond, you start getting people being like, thank you for just responding. Like, literally just like even just
Validate what
like
I'm feeling and move. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, they don't need you to, they don't need me to fix it. I can't fix it. I can't, sorry. Like, if you thought I was going to fix you, you're on the wrong page because I'm not going to fix you.
See, your
I'm just
therapist
here to,
already.
right. Yeah. And it's like, I talk to these people and I'm like, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And they're like, thank you for saying that. Like, it just feels like I just screamed this and all I get is an echo back, but saying it and then having you respond really helped. And that's what I try to get some of these guys to understand is they're like, I don't know what to say when they say these things to me. I'm like, half the time you don't have to say anything. Just validate what they're feeling. Now, that doesn't mean to validate somebody who's having ridiculous feelings that are just, just egregious and some people don't need to be validated. We'll just leave it at that. There's some people that, like, they need to grow up and move on because they're just being victims and they have a victim mindset that's never going to change. Apart from those people, most people don't want you to fix them. They just want you to listen. They want to have a sounding board of somebody who's not going to judge them, who's not going to say, well, why would you do that? That's ridiculous. Like, why did you think that? Like, that's dumb. No, it's like, okay, I can understand why you felt that. And then just kind of like leave and then kind of see how they react to that. Cause they may be like, nobody's ever said they understand that before. Nobody's validated, me feeling that way. And it's like, was your feeling the right feeling? Maybe not. Probably not. You probably had some irrational response based on something that led you to that point, but you still felt it. And I can understand it. I'm not saying it was right or you should feel that way. What I'm saying is I can understand why you feel that way. It's like, it's one of those things like, I don't agree, but I understand. Like, the whole, like we talked about last time, Luigi, like shooting the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with that, but I
No.
understand his frustration.
Absolutely.
So it's like, there's feelings when these people come and some of their feelings they say, like, are the things that they experienced. I want to be like, you're overreacting, but I don't say that because I'm like, I'm not going to say that because they've
Right,
heard that enough.
right.
They've heard that enough. So what I'll say is, I understand why you're feeling that way. Can you elaborate? And I'll try to get them to message me because I don't want to have this conversation in comments. Like, that's like, message me and we'll talk. Some of them do, most of them don't. But when they do, I'm like, okay, so they said this, they should not have said that. But let's take a moment of introspection and say, what was I doing that caused them to react that way? And then, and I'm not blaming them for what they said. What I'm saying is, look at yourself in a moment of introspection and self-reflection and say, what did I do to cause them to react that way? And a lot of times they'll open up and be like, well, I was being a bit of a jerk, or I was drunk and I said some stupid stuff. And it's like, okay, so can you understand why they felt that way? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, like now we're getting somewhere now,
Yeah,
because like now you understand that you contributed at least a little bit to this, because it's a two-way street. And
for
it's just
sure.
really interesting when you get someone to admit that, like, yeah, I probably could have handled that better too. Like you were saying earlier, like when you had that guy that missed out on the deployment, you're like, he was probably dealing with some survivor's guilt and stuff. When you're able to look at somebody and say, I can understand why they did that, because they're probably dealing with X, Y, and Z. That's a huge step, because usually people are like, I have no idea why they would ever think that way. I never did anything to them. I didn't deserve this. It's all their fault. When you're able to pull yourself out and empathetically look at their situation and say, I can, I can understand that, at least to some extent. That's a pretty good sign of growth. But I feel like I'm rambling, but no,
I
it's
mean, you're
just,
not wrong though. It's
No, I
it's
mean, I think that goes into, like, just in general, like, when we look at, like, relationships and communication, right? Like, you can either be right or you can be cooperative, and you can't be both.
yeah,
It's just really what it comes down to, because even in a space, like, everyone's reality is their reality. And so oftentimes, whether it's friendships, romantic relationships, coworkers, whatever it is, if you're going into this situation of like, I need them to understand where I'm coming from and that's it, and like that makes me right and them wrong, it's always going to lead to more conflict, and it's going to lead to more resentment and more hurt feelings. But if you can put your own stuff aside and just take that person's truth as true, it's not with, the truth, but with your sprinkling of, wherever you're coming from. It's just, this is their reality, this is their truth. It's 10 times easier to sit there and be like, oh, I would probably do the same thing. If all of these things were true for me and I felt this way and this was the, exact setup, yeah, I could see that.
Bandit, quiet down. Grief, dog. Nobody tuned in to listen to you. I mean, they probably like you better than me anyway, but geez. So I don't know about you guys. I really love dogs. My dogs are their friends, their pets. But to some people, dogs can really make a huge difference, especially when you go through a company like Guardian Angel Medical Service Dogs. Guardian Angel Medical Service Dogs is a nonprofit dedicated to empowering veterans and first responders and other individuals with disabilities by providing highly trained service dogs that help people regain independence and improve their quality of life. These service dogs are trained to assist with all kinds of things, from PTSD to traumatic brain injury to mobility challenges and seizure and diabetic disorders, and even hearing impairments. So these dogs they just change people's lives. And if you are in need of a dog or you feel like you could use one, go to Guardian Angel Medical Service Dogs and click on the apply for a dog tab and just see if you're even a good fit for one. Also, if you want to donate to assist in the training and housing and feeding and supplying of these dogs, go to Guardian Angel Medical Service Dogs and go to the monthly Paw Prints Club. Your donation enables these critical mission operations such as veterinary care, housing, food, professional training, constant communication with the disabled individuals before, during, and after matching them with a service dog, and continued support throughout the service dog's life, including training and veterinary assistance long after they've received the dog. So if you guys want to make a difference in veterans' lives, this is a great way to know that your money is being used in that way, and your gift can make a life-changing impact. And remember, together, we can unleash the power to heal.
You know?
Yeah. And it's neat just watching people kind of, come around to that. Because I mean, I have people, and it's interesting because I have people send hateful messages and stuff all the time, just calling me all kinds of names, and I generally don't respond. But it's interesting. There's sometimes I'll feel I don't know, an urge to respond, and I'll send a message back and be like, that's kind of a silly thing to say, but okay. And then they'll be like, why do you think it's silly? And I'm like, well, one, you don't know me. Two, you're just coming at me disrespectfully, which is uncalled for in general. And three, if you would come at me with a different approach, we could probably have a decent conversation about this. And I'm telling you, 99% of the time, we end up having a decent conversation because I simply approach it from like, just talk to me. Like, you're clearly upset about something. So explain what I did that upset you. Because I had posted a video of, it was a Russian soldier and he had dug a trench like outside of his apartment building.
Yeah, I dealt with some
Right.
hecklers on that comment thread.
So there's a guy who sent me a message, and thankfully he sent me a message. He didn't just leave a comment. He sent me a message, so he was man enough to at least send it to me and like, talk to me directly. And he's like, "You're a coward. F you. Like, you support Russians, and I hope you and your kids get droned by the Russian army." And I was like, "That's a little
Very kind
intense,
of
but
you.
It's
okay."
very
Yeah,
specific.
I was like, "Yeah, it was. It really was." And he was from Finland, and he was very adamant that Russians are just like the worst people, like scum of the earth. I basically at one point was like, I think we are on the same page, but you're thinking that because I posted a video of a Russian soldier clearly in a mental, like psychotic break, that I'm supporting the Russian army and their operation in Ukraine. The point of my post, and I explained this, was to draw attention to the trauma that war causes. That's it. That was it. Doesn't matter who it was. Like, just
This
war
guy just
causes
happens
trauma.
to be Russian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was
And I
my
was like, and
comment on there that caused all sorts of
yeah,
trouble, was quite literally like,
yeah,
hey, all of the other stuff aside, we all dig walls. Some of us didn't have a front yard to dig it in. I hope he finds the help and healing he needs, because
yes,
he could literally change his entire country from
yes.
the
And
inside
that's,
out. And people wanted
and
to burn me for that. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
well, I texted you. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry to take
yeah.
over your whole comment thread, but
No, it's again, it needs to happen because there's so many people. Because he even asked me, he's like, no, I asked him, I was like, have you served in Ukraine? And he said no. I'm like, okay. He goes, well, why does that matter? I'm like, well, I'm curious because because I had said a lot of these Russians are conscripted, and he goes, no, they're not. They all signed up. And I'm like, have you served in Ukraine? And he goes, no. I'm like, then how do you know they all signed up? How do you know that
Because
every single
social
person that's
media
in
told him.
right? Because yeah, I was like, how do you know that every single soldier in the Russian military signed up to go and kill people in Ukraine? And he's like, well, I don't. I'm like, okay, so you admit that you don't know that every single person is a cold-blooded, ruthless killer that's in the Russian military, right? Because I've seen videos of these guys, some of these guys getting captured, and they're like old men and young boys that don't want to be there. And the second a Ukrainian unit shows up, they're like throwing their arms up, like, come take me, like, get me out of here. Like, I'd rather go with you than be with my own unit because my own unit treats me like dog crap and I'm scared they're going to kill me. And if I don't surrender to you, I'm likely going to get killed as soon as I get back anyway. So I've seen these videos, right? So I understand that not everyone is a cold-blooded Russian murderer who came to Ukraine to murder innocent people. Are there some of those people? Yes, absolutely.
absolutely
100%. Is the Russian military generally bad? Yeah, pretty much. Like
most days.
that they invaded a neighboring country with the intent of just taking property for, land and whatever else. Not cool, right? So I get that. But at the end of the conversation, after I had pointed out, like, dude, if you would just approach me respectfully and ask me my stance, I would have explained this to you. And then he came back, he goes, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I should have approached this differently. And I was like, I get it. Emotions are high. I understand. I'm not mad at you. Like, we're cool. And then we had we had a long conversation and it was fine. It's just, I think it's really interesting when if you can just sit down and have a conversation with somebody, like 99 out of 100 problems on social media could be resolved because
For sure.
we're most of us are more alike than we realize. And it's like
We're more
a
alike
lot
than
of
they
it
want us
just
to realize.
right.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a different rabbit
That's
hole, but yeah.
I
yeah.
told you, anarchist, burn it all down.
All of it.
All of
Every
it.
piece of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's the current state of mind that I've been in recently.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I on that same exact video, there was a lot of people like, I can't, American feeling empathy for a Russian. It wasn't on my bingo card. I'm like, well, maybe it should have been. Like
Yeah.
all hate does, right? Like and it's probably the same guy because I'm a professional Facebook stalker, and he commented on mine thing like from Finland, and he
Yeah.
was like, I hope it hurts and he kills himself or something. I'm like, and I
Yeah.
didn't. I just
Yeah.
chose not to engage at all because I'm like, I looked this guy up, like his family's demographic is the demographic I service, granted not in his country, but it's like I had so many really, really, really hurtful things I could have said that I bit my tongue on because again, hate just begets hate, right? And Martin Luther King said that. I'm pretty sure it's in my little blue Bible over here. I don't hate anybody. I don't care where you're from. I don't care. I don't hate you. I didn't hate the Taliban that I was fighting. There was some, and this is going to probably put me in hot water. Some of those guys fought better and had more balls than most Americans do. Period. End of story. Right? Like, at least they had the balls to come fight me. Granted, half of them would shoot and run away like the Taliban does, but they still had balls to come out and play, right? And then
In
you
a
come
pair
to
of
the
sandals, one AK-47, and no body armor, going up
and
against
you
the
know, add some
mightiest
black tar
superpower the
heroin.
world has ever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, add
yeah,
some black tar heroin, and we got a recipe for disaster. However,
Comma.
you get stateside, right?
comma, pause for effect.
I'm gonna G-rate this. You get stateside, and this is again angry veteran, right? Like if you and I have an issue, I'm gonna text you, and then if we have a bigger issue, we're gonna call, and if we have a bigger issue, we'll probably FaceTime but not record it, and then if we have a bigger issue, we'll figure it out, right?
Yep.
But I'm not gonna pretend to be your friend and stab you in the back at the same exact time. And
Yeah.
that's my problem with most civilians is they can't just come out and go toe to toe with us. They're afraid to.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they're gonna pretend to be our friends and, literally like give you the old, thank you for your service,
Yeah.
reach around.
Yep.
And it's that's where you get angry veteran, right? Like stop stabbing us in the back. If you don't like us, just fucking say it and move on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Otherwise,
Well, it's
shut
like
the fuck up and sit down,
the one video where the one video the guy's like, if you don't like me, then fight me. Otherwise, shut up. And he just like walks away and he's just like, so like, tell me
Like,
that's just
I
a
can
silly
respect
video, but it's like,
it's not
I would
that
rather you
wrong,
just tell
though.
me to my face.
Right.
And just tell me, like, if we don't get along or you don't like me, like,
That's a you
it's
problem.
fine. Like, I don't really care. Like, cool, got it. Like,
Right.
at least let me know. But then don't act like you're my friend and then turn around and
Or do
whisper
shady
behind my
shit
back.
behind you. Right.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
think
And then
again, that's like a
Like I'll talk
very-
shit to your face because that's just,
But that's
But
like a
then you walk out of the room like, that
military-
is the greatest guy ever. Like I fucking love that guy.
That's like a military thing though, because you can't. Can you imagine if in active like deployment, people are like going around doing shady shit to each other just like all fucking day long? Like
Oh, it would kill
it
each
needs
other.
to
Yeah.
be like,
yeah.
hey, if you have a fucking problem with me, let's fucking roll right now, so we
And
can
then
fucking
move on. Clear the air.
on, because
Yeah.
at
Yep.
any moment there's gonna be fucking gunfire, and I need you to have my fucking back.
Well,
so let's just
yeah,
fucking get
yeah.
it done.
And the military is the only other place, at least in the Marine Corps, and I can't speak to all the branches because I was only in the Marine Corps, right? But like, even if you and I hated each other, like we couldn't be in the same room without swinging. And then we deployed, and we're in the same platoon, and someone yells contact left, and we're on patrol, and they get you in the fucking back, and I'm in the front because if we get any closer, we're gonna fight each other.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
No,
Right.
she didn't hear nothing. It doesn't count.
You don't get a vendor.
But no, it's only
Or
vets.
GoFundMe.
Only vets. Beep, my QR code. Anyways, you and I could absolutely hate each other, and that's fine. They got us so far separated because they know that we're gonna fight. Like there's a chance that we might actually like want to fight mid patrol, right? But someone yells contact left. You and I are gonna end up shoulder to shoulder engaging like it's our job, because it is our job. And everything else gets tabled and we move on, right? The civilian world, my experience has been, me and someone else don't get along. They pretend they're buddy-buddy and they'll be a little closer to me. But contact left happens, and I move to contact like I'm supposed to be. I've even gone like they're in an issue, and I've gone side by side with them in a fight that wasn't even my fight to have. But they'll leave you out there to just hang you to dry and let you go. And they'll
That's
just
exactly-
they'll watch you burn, and they're like, hey, there he goes.
Yep.
That sucks. And that's what
exactly
drives
what
me
happened
crazy. And that's why
with
I
me.
get so frustrated with the civilian world. And it happened with
Yeah.
me on the fire and ambulance. And it's just,
Yep.
I joined the fire and ambulance. It wasn't even my issue to have, but they needed more votes was the original reason why I joined, to help fix some local political stuff. And then I ended up leading the damn thing because everybody else abandoned me after they started a fight. And I'm like, this isn't even my place to be. I'm like, that almost ruined my entire relationship at the time too. And it's like, I guess that's, the angry veteran in me is like, stop screwing us over, right? Like, let's just get along or don't get along.
Yeah.
It
Just
just
stop
is what
lying
it
about
is. Like you can
Yeah.
hate me, go for it. I would respect that more. Again, back to, I respect the Taliban that was at least willing to come fight me more than I do half the civilians that have stabbed me in the back.
Yep.
It just is what it is.
At least they knew what they stood for, and they stood on it.
They had
and
balls
I
enough
knew
to stand on what they believed
Where
and come
they,
fight me.
I
Yep.
knew where they stood.
Yep, they were willing
And
to
they
die.
stood-
They were willing to
Yeah.
die for what they believed in, and I was too. And that's the problem, is most people in the civilian world, or just in our little safety bubble of America, they're not willing to, put up or shut up. And it's like, I say we bring back, dueling amongst politicians, because at least then, if they have a dumb idea, like, they can challenge each other to a duel and walk out their 20 paces. And if you're so confident in what you believe in, let's go outside and see if you're willing to die for it.
Yeah.
And that would
Yeah.
resolve so many problems across the board. And it's just, I like, hats off to the good politicians out there. Hats off to the good civilians out there. Hats off to the good everybody out there that's doing the right thing. But the couple dirtbags that are out there, like, put up or shut up is really where we're at. And it's, I wish we could bring politicians dueling back. It would resolve a lot of problems. And
It'd also be very entertaining.
It would be a lot.
It would be
fun.
very.
Like,
It'd be televised, and
the
they can cane each
Hunger
other if
Games,
they want to. Just
Hunger Games, White House, not White House, but Hunger Games. Whatever political division. Like,
yep.
We'll take two tributes.
Winner
from each
gets their bill passed.
Yeah.
Everybody else is
fair,
dead, and then we put in
But the
new people.
president could still veto, because that would just be funny. Like, you literally just like box it. And the president's
He's
like, nah, I don't really like it.
Just kidding. Denied.
Nah,
Nope. Denied.
not today.
But
I want you to fight one more person, and then I'll think about it.
Yeah, and then I'll think about it.
Anyways, that's my little tangent, my grunt tangent.
No, and it's, I think that is where veterans join the military, right? And then at some point, they receive some kind of moral injury, because I feel like, and I'm not saying that everybody has a moral injury. I'm just saying most people at some point, the military is not what they expected it to be, and they get screwed over in some way, and they have some frustrating, thing that injures them morally, right? And then they get into the civilian world and they're told, oh, we love veterans and all this other stuff. And then they get screwed over, right? And then so that causes more of this moral injury that's just kind of already put them down. And then they just get put down again. And it's not veterans necessarily being victims. There's guys that are, they just live, they're just a professional victim. Not saying that's not the case. What I'm saying is, you got someone, just from my personal experience, being in the military, like, I never received anything from a unit. My last unit, I got something when I left. Every other unit before that, I got, like, they never even said goodbye. It was literally just like, this person was here and then they weren't anymore. And nobody seemed to care about me beyond just what I was doing for the unit. And that really made me mad. And then I get out and I'm working in insurance, and there's just, everybody was all about making money, and everybody was just all about, how much,
what's in it,
how many accounts can I get and how much money can I make? And then, I get into the police force, and then I get, stabbed in the back and all this other stuff. And it's just kind of one moral injury after another, and it just compounds, right? And I think that, again, that's where you get a lot of these angry veterans, is they have a lot of them have some level of PTSD from the combat they experienced, and then they have these moral injuries that compound on top of it, and they're trying to deal with all of it. And a lot of them are like, I'll deal with it myself, and they self-medicate with alcohol or drugs or dangerous behavior. And then they meet normal people on the street, normal people, and, oh, this guy's just angry. It's like, yeah, well, you would be too. So,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, I wish we'd get people to understand that talking about it is okay, and also somehow find a way to make it more affordable to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. 'Cause it's just,
I'm working on it.
And that's
as hard and fast as I can. I'm working on it.
Yeah. And
I need about $1 billion.
Yeah. Apparently you just need to start a Somali daycare. And
I honest to God wish that, and I've said this, that's why she's giving me this stupid look. I can't even look at her right now. I didn't.
You guys just like share brain waves all the time?
I literally had a meme that I just clicked delete and not post, but it was literally like, I wish that the United States of America believed in veterans and believed in, like, actually saving our freaking lives through what I'm doing, as much as they believe in Somalian daycares. That would be great. Or like,
yes.
my
and
like,
they just pour money into it, without ever even checking anything. They just
check it, please do. Like
that's what I mean.
Please pour,
that's what I mean. It's like they need
money
to
into
check
me,
it.
but let me show you where every penny went, and it's not in my pocket, because I don't get paid. I pay my own money to do what I'm doing, you know? It's like, but, you know,
And that's
and
the
my
problem that's why nobody wants to start these businesses, because they just get screwed
right,
over and
yeah,
time again. And then you've got places like the Leering Center in, Minnesota, right? They can't even spell learning, and they're getting millions of dollars from the government
maybe if
for
they got a couple
nothing.
$1 million more, they could study English and learn how to,
Yeah, they could actually maybe
spell it
actually
out
have some
instead
kids
of,
they take care of
use
and spell out their sign properly. But
that's
it's
weird.
just it's unbelievable that, that they've got it's like it's too expensive is always the answer. It's too expensive. I'm like, no, it's not. It
My
absolutely is not. You can
my
literally print billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars and use it however you want and pay for whatever you want. But you're telling me that it's too expensive to like help people get mental health care at an affordable rate or for free.
my
And
thing is this, like, I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of people that are gonna end up, seeing clips of this or whatever else, right? Like, if every single one of them put up 25 cents, donate 25 cents, right? What do you got, like 200 and some odd thousand followers? If every single one of them donated 25 cents a month for 12 months,
Mhm.
there's thousands and thousands and thousands of veterans and first responders that would suddenly have their mental health care covered for free, right? At quality places that don't suck at what they're doing, because I would guarantee that, right? And like, those are the things that drive me crazy though. It's like everybody's like, "Oh, we love what you're doing." Well, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Like,
Yeah.
I've put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
Bled myself dry twice and then half a cat dry twice, to like get us to where we're at and doing what we believe in. But like, everybody's like, "Oh, thanks for what you're doing. It's great." Well, okay, give me 25 cents a month.
Yeah.
Like,
But ultimately,
Yep.
I mean, at the end of the day, like you guys are in terms of the government and spending, you guys are better off dead.
we're cheaper, Dad.
That's what I'm saying,
We're
right? Like
we're,
that
we're cheaper.
there's a reason that these systems suck and it's not happenstance. I mean,
Oh, we're a
even
mathematical equation,
even
and they
with
know that
moral injury will probably never make it as a primary diagnosis
it's
because if it
too much
was,
money.
the VA would have to recognize it as a service
Yes.
related injury, which means holy shit. Oh, fuck.
That's three.
Oh,
Three.
God.
I wish I
Boy,
had the time to
golly.
edit this to where it just has a little jar in the corner of your screen,
Ching,
and it's just every
ching,
time it's
ching.
like, ting, ting, and it just that would be hilarious. I would love that, but I don't know
Gee
that I have the
golly
time to do that.
whiz. Then that would mean how many veterans would be
Yeah.
100%?
Yeah.
Right. Or just beyond that,
Or even just getting
that
paid,
aside,
getting
yeah,
their therapy paid for,
right. Pay
Right.
for
like
free
getting mental
Outside of
health
the
care paid
VA
for,
or
and
anything else.
understanding what's actually wrong with them, rather than mislabeling them as having PTSD and then having them go through all the wrong therapy that doesn't actually help them.
I mean,
and
And
then
then
getting
them sitting
frustrated that
around
it's not
being,
working,
most of the
they're
research
like,
around
why
moral
am I not getting
injury,
better? I've been
right?
through 18 different therapies and I've seen 25 different therapists and I'm not getting better. And I'm like, probably because they're treating the wrong thing.
right? And
And
that right there is the exact issue with a lot of the VA stuff versus like private practice, right? She can look at you and say, "Yeah, he's got a little touch of the PTSD, he's got a little touch of the TISM, and he's got a little touch
yep.
of the moral injury." Like, we're all Marines, so we all know we've got a little touch of we signed the dotted line with a crayon, okay? Like,
Yes.
it's okay. Um, it's she can custom, design her care plan to us. The VA doesn't do that as much. They're like, "Here's your box, stay in it," because we're the
But
federal government, and
it's because
that's what you're going to use.
it's socialized healthcare.
Yeah, which
And
sucks.
that's all the VA is. That's all the VA is that's why. And if you talk to Eric Donahoe, the guy, if you listen to the podcast I did with him, he talks about how this was specifically designed to to demonstrate how socialized healthcare would work.
Yeah,
That way they could implement it on a nationwide scale for everybody.
military test
in a
guinea pigs
an
across the
abysmal
board.
failure, right? It's
Yeah.
an abysmal failure, but they won't admit it because they're like, oh, well, the VA provides quality healthcare for veterans. And it's like,
an
in some
abysmal failure,
cases,
but it's like the most well-known fact that they suck.
yes.
My
And
thing is
they
this:
keep pushing it. And it's just,
like,
yeah, go ahead.
how many billions of dollars are we wasting every year on VA? Right? What's that? What's that? I don't know, right? But
I don't know.
that
I don't
line
know.
item is huge, right?
Yeah.
It's multiple, right?
Yes.
How many veterans are there right now alive?
A
Like
lot. But
hundreds of thousands, but not billions, right?
Yeah.
So what if we just shut off the VA and start paying us out? Just give us each $1 million a year. Guess what?
Eric
I can then
Donahoe.
pay for my own health care.
Exactly.
It's cheaper, America. You're welcome for me cutting your friggin' spending. And then I can go see the people I want. And
Exactly.
guess what? I'd be able to afford groceries and gas in my truck or tires on my truck or brakes in my truck, like God forbid we actually get something back, but that would be too much to give to our veterans. So we're going to give it to our cousin that runs the
But it's
VA.
because they don't actually want you guys to make it,
Right.
is the
But
point.
like,
Because again,
it
you
shouldn't
talk to
be
Eric
that though.
Donahoe, and he has all these numbers. He has all
Yeah.
these numbers. He's actually he helped get the PACT Act passed in Congress. Try to say that 10 times fast.
I just dumped a Rip It all over my lap.
You're welcome. Now you're going to smell like Rip It. That's awesome.
Look at it. Yeah,
So-
it's
So
that was
he
sorry.
helped get the PACT Act passed, and he does a lot of work with Congress. And he has said his biggest thing is, they're like, what do we need to do to fix the VA? He said the VA
Get rid of
needs
it?
to
Delete.
and not necessarily the whole VA. What he's saying is VA healthcare administration needs to
Right.
be completely obliterated.
Yep.
Because they should be administering benefits, not administering healthcare. The VA Benefits Administration is what it should be. They should have a card that they give you, and that card is based on your level of service-connected disability. Okay, if it's 100%, you get 100% of your insurance and stuff paid for through the VA. And what they do, and obviously they would have a rating scale of how much they pay you for what. But that insurance card can be used anywhere. And all the VA does is, instead of paying doctors and paying for buildings and paying for utilities and paying for transportation and paying for all this stuff that we don't need to pay for, you let the private sector hospitals pay for it. The private sector's doctors pay for it. The private sector therapists pay for it. And then you just pay the people the money to go and get the care they need at the places they want to go to.
Yep.
He's like, that's the solution, but they will not entertain it. They will not talk about it. They will not entertain deconstructing the VA
It's
healthcare
a business,
administration.
right? Like, at the end of the day, like, it is a business that needs to make money in some way, shape, or form in order to operate. And if you look at the research being done on moral injury, psychedelic assisted treatment, I mean, the VA has the perfect guinea pigs on the planet, because you guys are all stuck there anyway, right? And you want to feel better, and you're going to do probably anything that you can to feel better. And a lot of you don't have the ability to go get healthcare anywhere else, so you're just literally trapped, right? And so if they wanted moral injury to be a diagnosable condition that insurance would have to pay for, or if they wanted psychedelic assisted treatment or these other modalities to be mainstream, they have the research to back it up. They have had the research to back it up. They don't push it out there for a reason, because then now they have to put their money where their mouth is and pay for this shit and cover this shit. Damn it, that's two. Crap. Anyway.
I hope people watch this episode just so they can.
They need to comment how many dollars she owes in the swear jar.
$1? That's insane. It's supposed to be like a quarter per swear. My God, inflation.
Quarter? It's fine. Yeah. Inflation. It used to be a quarter due to rising
now it's
costs.
apparently $1. God
it's
damn.
$1.
Crap.
Nailed it. I'm not bleeping any of these, by the way. I'm just letting you know. I put on my YouTube stuff. It's not made for kids, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
If people listen to it with their kids, they just, I'm sorry. You're getting what you're going to get.
I apologize well after the fact.
I apologize.
Yeah. Nah, it's fine. It's fine. No, I enjoy the open and honest conversation, just because it's refreshing to talk to somebody who doesn't, people who don't polish themselves up just to appear better,
normal,
and it's normal. And I get tired of the fake, I get tired of fake people, and it's starting to resonate, around just in the world, as people are like, can we just be real and honest? Like, I'm not feeling okay. Like, okay, why? And then and normalizing being able to say that without somebody being like, oh, like, get away from me. Like, what's wrong with you? Are you contagious? Like, no, I'm not contagious. I'm depressed. Like, geez. Like,
but also hang out with me long enough, you might feel a little sad.
Like, maybe you could feel a little sad with me for a little bit, and then we could be sad together and then get happy together, because, that's how we're supposed to do
life. I was thinking
life.
about what you were saying earlier. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like in that phase, right? Of like, I just hate people. I can't stand people. I think it's not actually that we isolate because we don't like people. I think that as a society, we've become very, very individualized. Like, even like,
Yes.
not to romanticize the 1950s for a variety of reasons, right? But like, it used to be like, oh, I was just driving in the neighborhood and I literally, for no reason at all, went over, knocked on someone's door, stayed for 3 hours, and then left, right? And I think it's almost that combination of thing of like, we retreated into ourselves because we got tired of the fake and the niceties and the everything looks great. And here's this beautiful cake that I have sitting out in case someone stops by and knocks on the door. Meanwhile, our household is like a dumpster fire of chaos, right? And so, like, we retreated into ourselves because we got tired of the energy and the effort of the disingenuity. I don't think that's a word, but the disingenuine nature
Yeah.
of the way socialization was happening.
Yes.
But if we had essentially that, right, like the 1950s style of like, you could be driving in your friend's neighborhood and you're just like, well, shit, I'm just going to stop by, knock, knock, stop. He said it didn't matter. Like, knock, knock, here I am. I'm just gonna like
Yep.
pop in and whatever. But it
Yep.
was in a genuine way. It's not like, oh, well, I made sure my house is immaculate in case someone stops by. It's my house is still a dumpster fire, but sure, come on in. I don't have like a cake that I made, but I can throw some, oddly shaped chicken nuggets in the air fryer
Right.
and just call it a day, right? Like,
Starfish nuggets.
and just go from there. Like, I think that we would be less likely to hate people. But I think that that's what people are really getting at when
Yeah.
they're like, I hate
I
people. It's,
yeah,
I hate that I have to put on a mask to go into the world in order to blend in enough
Yep.
to
right,
To be
socialize,
accepted, to be
Right.
accepted and to socialize, and
Yeah.
right.
it's like, again, people feel they treat, people that are s sad or depressed or, whatever it is, like they're contagious and they don't wanna be around them, and it's like, and I love the analogy. I grew up watching Winnie the Pooh. It was just my mom loved it. We grew up watching all the movies. I knew Pooh, Piglet, Kangaroo, Owl, Rabbit, all of them. Eeyore, knew them all. Had all the little stuffed animals, loved it. One of my favorite analogies is Eeyore was always depressed, but they still included him in everything. Yeah, Eeyore was always sad, but they never just like told him you can't come and hang out with us because you're sad. It
Right.
was like they knew he was sad, and they were still like, "Hey, bud, what's up? Your house fell over again? Ah, that sucks. All right, come on." And they just take him, they just drag him along, and then
Yep.
But it was like it's such a perfect example of like that's how we need to treat people. Is oh, you're depressed? Okay, well, I'm doing this, and I'm bringing you with me.
Right. Take
And
them at
or
face
I'm
value and
yeah, I'm coming over. I understand you're going through some stuff, but I think you need some socialization and I'm coming over. And that's not being like, I'm just pushy and I just force myself on people. It's just saying, I understand that you're in a bad spot, but I'm here. And, and sometimes it takes showing up at their house and being like, hey, we're going to hang out for a little bit. My house is a mess. I don't care. We need to hang out. Like I need some time with you and you need some time with me and we're going to hang out. And just being willing to sit with people in the mud and in their sadness and their frustration and be like, "Yep, I get it." And not just leaving them behind. And it's like and actually going to them and saying, "It's okay." Like, "Yeah, you're sad, you're upset, you're anxious, you're scared, whatever, you're mad. I'll sit with you in it. I may not, and I may not be able to sit here all day long, and I may not be able to, give you my entire attention for, 3 or 4 hours, but I've got 30 minutes, I've got an hour. Tell me what's going on. Talk to me." "Okay. Well, I'll be, if you need to talk to me again, call me, whatever it is, just being available and being able to listen and being, non-judgmental and just being real with people. And that's what a lot of the military is in general, is everybody's pretty straightforward with each other. And then when we leave the military and we go back and we get into the civilian world and everybody's fake, it just pisses us off. And, I'm not saying veterans aren't perfect and the military is not perfect. It's just a generalization, but it's pretty true because it's like in the military, everybody's pretty straightforward. Like, yep, I don't like you. Cool, I don't like you either. So we don't talk, But if I need you to do something, I'm like, hey, I need you to do this, or yeah, hey, I'm gonna do this because it's my job,
right.
and we do it.
And just suck it up and
And
move
it's
on. Yeah.
yeah, and then it's like, okay, well, I don't like working with you, but I have to, so I'm gonna do it, and
Well, and
then
there's
I'll
also like
respect you enough to
there's like a constant presence, right? Like, I think about like in college or like high school, right? Like, you hung out with your friends, but you weren't like, you're like grocery shopping or like you needed to go like return something somewhere. Like, it's like an errand hangout, right? But it's you just existed together, but you're still hanging out. You have that
Mhm.
presence and that connection and just the you didn't have the need of like, well, we're hanging out, so we have to do something, or I have to be a certain way, or I have to portray. It's just like, I have fucking laundry to do, so we're going to sit and I'm folding laundry while we're just
Yep.
watching TV. I could be doing this
Yep.
by myself, but I'm doing it with my roommate, with my friend, with whoever. And I think like in the military lifestyle, there's also that element of it too, of like, how often are you really like by yourself? I mean, you guys don't even get
Yeah.
to take a shit by yourselves. So
Yep.
Listen, you need
Well,
someone
it's
else
like
to make the pyramid in the
you
desert, you know?
yeah, you have to
so
it's like
like
you it's like you have to seek out time alone in the military.
right,
Yeah.
Where in the civilian world, you have to seek out time with people because it's
right.
like if you isolate in the civilian world, no one's going to come looking for you. In the military, it's like, hey, where's John? I haven't seen him. Like, and then they go looking for him and they find him and like, what are you doing? Let's go. And it's like, even I don't know, like you have to make an effort to be alone in the military,
Yep.
Right.
and it's the opposite in the civilian world. And then it guys just get frustrated with trying.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want to try anymore. Like it's and to be honest, sometimes they don't know how to make friends because in the military you're forced to make friends. So it's like, oh,
So
I make
here's your issued
I'm
friends. Yeah, we're gonna
yeah,
issue
like
your
I'm good at
platoon.
making friends. And then you
Yeah.
get out of the military and you're like, wow, I really suck at making friends because like I have no idea how to actually be a normal person and make friends with people. Like I had people all the time message me and be like, how do I make friends? And I'm like,
Be yourself. Yeah.
what are you like 8? 5? It's which I say that like I'm joking, but like I understand because it's like they never had to actually go and put effort into making friends because they lived with these guys and they just naturally became friends because they had to, right?
Yeah.
And it's
But
like,
even then, like I see that all the time with just all of my adult clients. Like I say all the time, like it is the hardest thing in the world to make genuine friendships as an adult. If you're someone that didn't have a lot of friends in high school or didn't go to and do like the traditional college route and you work from
yeah,
home, where the
yep,
hell do you meet anybody? Right? Like, and no one, and again, no one goes out and socializes because we can't afford it. I mean, in this economy, dear God. But even if we could, if I'm like out somewhere and someone approaches me, my instant thought is, get the fuck away from me.
yeah, like,
Who are you?
oh no,
Like, and I have,
people.
I have clients that are talking about, it's not even just friends. Like they don't want to internet date, right? Because that never works. But like, like they want to like meet somebody. And it's like, again, like if I was approached at like a bookstore, I'd literally be like, what kind of psycho stalker killer are you? Get away
Like
from me.
get
I'm
away
trying to
from
just
me.
pick my books and
It
leave.
doesn't help that you're
Yep.
standing in the true crime section, like looking at serial killer books, like, you know.
I mean, they
Grisly
can't see
crime
any of those books.
scenes.
We're
Yeah, yeah.
blocking all of those. So no one would have known that unless you said it. So they're very
Top
good.
10 grisliest crime scenes illustrated.
Real
But
photographs.
like, I don't know, it was like when we first started Labyrinth, I was like, even like the whole college thing, they're like, oh, you got to be presidential, presidential, presidential. Fuck that. Like Labyrinth was
Sure, sure.
literally built around
Ching, ching.
me being me and who I am. And honestly, like for me, like Jelly Roll, like released like the I'm Not Okay song, and that thing hit so hard at home. It was on repeat for I don't know
A
how
very
many
long
days,
time.
but it was just like
Very
even
long
for
time.
me and my kid, but like for somebody, at that level to say, I'm not okay, but it's okay, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
definitely not okay. Like I've
There's
I've
some
got the
screws loose.
PTSD stamp, right? Like I've been through hell and back and I'm still, some days of the week still feel like I'm drowning. A lot of days of the week feel like I'm drowning. But like one of our first board meetings, we had that conversation. Like, listen, I am not the second I was like in the president's seat versus the VP. It's like, listen, you all need to understand that I will not show up in a pretty suit and be pretty. That's not my job.
You're
I'll show up
pretty
in a
enough
pretty suit and be
all
pretty.
on your
I will
own.
do that. However, I will never, ever, ever sugarcoat the fact that I'm struggling with life, that life is fucking hard as shit, and that like the stuff we went through was real, right? Like we endured some stuff, we did some stuff, and I skirt around a lot of it in what I've done and where I've been because it's not about me, right? It's not about tooting my own horn and all this stuff that I've done and whatever else. It's just about admitting that I've been some places, I've done some things, I've experienced some stuff, and it hurt, and I'm struggling with it. And it's okay. I'm not using that as a crutch to sit down and roll over, or allowing it, not even using it, but allowing it, like my inner dialogue constantly. Like when you go to run or lift that, get your PR for the day, and your head's like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, right? That inner dialogue is nonstop in the back of my head, screaming, you are not good enough for this. I'm probably not, but here I am and I'm doing it anyway, right? And like,
you're not wrong.
like I am not good enough for this, right? Like I question, Kat was saying it earlier, I question every single day of the week, why did I come home from Afghanistan when I've got buddies that were 10 times more influential than me that didn't make it, right? Like I question every day of the week why I'm sitting in this seat when there's 100 other people that have done bigger, badder things in their lives, right? Like I was just reading a story about a Navy SEAL that got shot 27 freaking times, killed the 4 Taliban or whoever he was fighting. It wasn't Taliban because he was in Iraq, right? Killed those 4 dudes, came home, took 2 years to recover, came home, and ultimately, like, after advocating for the rest of us, took his own life a couple years ago, right? Like, that guy did way more stuff than I've ever done, and he didn't make it, right? And, like, I personally would not have made it if it wasn't for people like Kat and people that actually care and believe in us. And I the only reason I'm still alive right now is because somebody believed in my value as a human, took me and all of my hot mess at face value and said, yep, that one's my friend. I'm going to keep it.
I
And
like this one.
mind you, this is somebody that I've gone toe to toe with and had like a not nice argument with, and like it's like that for me is just being raw and real and like, hey, I'm a mess. And I really admire your page, because there's a lot of days where it's like, Evan's dealing with some dark shit today. Like I can see it on his posts, but it's like, but Evan's dealing with it and sharing that. You're not dealing with that, behind closed doors. I'm gonna make myself cry over here. You're not dealing with that behind closed doors. You're taking it, one stride at a time, and you're sharing that struggle with the world. And that's so much bigger than pretending that we're perfect and okay, because that's not what the world needs. The world needs raw and real, and especially our brothers and sisters that have been there, done that. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
they need to see that it's okay to not be okay and still succeed in life. Like, don't let somebody use your diagnosis to hold you down. Know your worth, know your value, and stand up and do your thing. And I've got one of my corpsmen is now passed, but he got out and started doing a bunch of rap. I think I actually sent you his Spotify link or whatever after our last chat. But like, he talks about a lot of the stuff, and then one of his songs, he literally talks about like we are giants amongst men. We've done what is it, 97% of our nation has not done, didn't have the balls to do. Like, keep going. Stop. Just because your service ended doesn't mean your story ended. That's just the end of that chapter.
Yep.
And that was just character development. Like,
and it makes your story that much cooler.
Absolutely. But look at every single, massive TV series. They spend Game of Thrones, right? The first 2 seasons is so freaking dry because it's just character development, a lot of weird stuff going on, character development, right? But by the end, it's built this cult-like following because they spent so much time in character development, and that's like, if we reframe our service ending as the end of, the greatest thing we've ever done in our lives, and look at that as that was just development. That was just building who we were going to become, that fertilized and tilled the land and planted a seed. And now what we're doing is what we're growing into. And that all came from that work that we've already done. And we have to keep growing, keep feeding that thing. And I just, there's so much that our community could do for each other, and we got to stop tearing each other down. And I see so many, it's horrible. It drives me crazy. Especially like the nonprofit world is savage. It's absolutely savage. Like, I've worked, fire, EMS, hospital, towing. I never thought tow truck drivers were rough, but there's some drama, dude. There's some drama. There's a couple shows on TV about the Canadian tow trucks that are like they're fighting and stuff. I thought that was all for No, it's not. It is not.
No.
There's some there's some stuff going down, right?
It's like organized crime.
Dude, it's savage, right? But like,
picture like crime families, but like
it's like, no, really though, it's insane. And so like
Starland,
but like,
it's my turn.
My thing is this: like, let's stop ripping each other apart. And the military community is notorious for just eating each other alive, right?
Yes. Yep.
There's a common enemy, and it's that suicide rate, right? That's the only enemy we have. And our only competition should be reducing that rate. And I say this 1,000 times. I've probably already said it on here the last time we were on, but like the wars that we both fought, like I did Iraq and Afghanistan. I know you did Afghanistan. I don't know if you did Iraq too, but
I did,
the
but yeah.
yeah, so you've been, so the wars that, we both fought are over for sure, right? But that battle to survive is every single day of the week for the rest of our lives. And we don't do it alone. We have to do it with somebody else because we never did a gunfight alone. That's not how we operate, right? Like we are so lethal because of the guys and girls left and right of us. Guys and girls standing behind us. It's like 70 some odd percent of the Marine Corps logistics, right? So
Yeah.
we're like this big of the whole, but we're the guys that like we're the reason that the brand holds such weight, right? People see the Marine Corps and they're like, crap, here they come again, right?
Yeah.
I can't do what I did if it wasn't for those 70% of us standing behind me, carrying the weight of what I did. Like I never had to worry. Well, okay, there was a couple times I worried about where food was coming from.
Yeah.
I stole watermelons from the Taliban, but that's a different story.
OnlyVets.
OnlyVets.
Melon story.
$8.99. I'll share the watermelon story. No, but really,
for $8.99, I'll show you my melons.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Oh no, that's
only $8.99, like for both.
They're cheap melons, man.
Listen, inflation.
25 cents a piece. If everybody gave me 25 cents,
all of your followers donated 25 cents a month. Everyone could have the melons for free.
Oh my gosh.
That's inappropriate.
You're inappropriate. Gosh, I haven't started it. But
sorry. I think you started it with the centipede.
The centipede. Hey, listen, that's another OnlyVets.
Yeah. How much is that one going for?
$7.99. That was earlier. It was
less.
Cheaper.
Okay.
My centipede's cheaper than my melons.
Yeah.
You should probably flip that, but okay. Your business model needs some work.
Your business model's a little off.
Oh, we were so off track.
Yep, that's all right.
Yeah, I still got ripping all over my shirt. Listen, back to I am not perfect. I literally like it's bad. It's bad. So what happened was I dented the can. Like I dented the can here, but the hole is over there. So I was drinking over here, and the hole it came out that side.
Came out wrong.
It was a mess.
So many things do.
Yeah, I was gonna say that happens. I think
Linda,
that's probably the best way to just start wrapping up the episode here. Is just it came out wrong, the whole thing.
All of it.
All of it. Last 3 hours just came out wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. Weird.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
Well,
I've had a lot of fun. I love having you guys on, and I love what you guys do. So tell again. I know last time I didn't say it, and I should have. Tell a little bit like where they can find your guys' sites and stuff, and just your socials and wherever they can find you guys. That way, if they want to support you, they can.
25 cents a month. You guys can stock.
Think
us.
of the melons.
Think of my melons. That is so wrong. All right. So online, www. Actually, this is going to be even more funny with the domain stuff. www.labyrinth, LABYRINTHTS.org or labyrinththerapeuticsservices.org or labyrinththerapeuticsservices.com. All roads lead back to our website, only because we ordered a bunch of merch and it was the second batch of merch that we were making that we realized that
the website was wrong.
The website was wrong.
Hey, that's all right.
Someone complained that his email domain was too long.
And then my email was this long, and I'm like, no. Like, let's fix it. So we own all 3 domains. They all get back to the same page. So we're on there. We make merch that
doesn't have stains
water.
On it.
I made her merch. I made my merch. I design merch and stuff and sell it to help raise money for what we're doing. And I try to compete with some of the big boys pricing and everything else. But yeah, we're on Facebook, Labyrinth Therapeutic Services. We're on Instagram, but I can't figure out how to make them links, so that's barely getting posted. And apparently we're on TikTok now because a follower wanted us to get on TikTok, but I made the page and that's all I've done over there too. So follow us on Facebook because that's where we're most active, and then we're online too. And then Kat's is which website?
Or okay. So my practice is outofthewoods, EMDR.com. And we do have Facebook. If it's not this logo, it's not the right one.
We got locked out of an
Pause
account or
for
two.
effect. There is no Out of the Woods Instagram. Yeah.
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 And there's
Well, I
no Out of the
appreciate
Woods
it. And
TikTok.
And there's no
we'll,
onlyvets.com yet, but
Not yet.
not yet. Not yet.
Stay
we're working
tuned.
on it.
Soon. Stay tuned.
Soon.
Well, if you guys want to if you want to support, Kat and Aaron, you can do it through, probably mostly through Labyrinth Therapeutic Services. Again, you can go on Facebook or Instagram or just online to their website. And again, the stuff they're doing is it's really helping veterans. It's not just, taking veterans on a hunting trip and then they get a bucket of meat to take home. It's, actually helping them change their lives. And it's the work that needs to be done. So I'm honored to have them on my show, and I love having Kat's perspective as an actual clinical counselor, and her being able to explain the things that I'm too dumb to understand on my own is very helpful. So, and then having having Aaron to use as a guinea pig helps a lot, so we can learn stuff from that.
Yep.
But so I'm glad you guys are here again, and we'll have you guys back on for sure, and more conversations. So, but I again, really appreciate you guys coming on and being open and honest about your guys' stories and what you guys are doing. So I really appreciate it.
And thank you for having us. I mean, this is huge, and it's super helpful for us to be able to talk about what we're doing, because sometimes it feels like we're all alone in the world. So,
Yep. Yep. Well, again, I really appreciate you guys coming on, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And I will
Absolutely.
talk to you again soon. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds good.
All right.
Nope.
See ya.
Peace.
Nope.
Hey guys, quick reminder, if you enjoyed the episode today, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, go to whatever platform you listen to these podcasts on and leave a review. That's the best way to help us out. It gets a lot more traffic to us. So again, if you liked it, like, subscribe, and leave a review. All right. Love you guys.